Gents, let's move on to the next big topic in the Premier League, and that is that it's getting very interesting at the bottom of the table. My question to you is, who is going to be relegated in the Premier League? Because two teams, it seems like we all agree on. I think it's fair to say that Sheffield United and West Bromwich Albion, Chris Wilder and Big Sam Allardyce are going to be getting ready for going down to the Championship. But the relegation battle and the form that some of those teams are in down there, if you look at the table, it's pretty wild. I mean, Fulham, their recent form has been brilliant. They've dragged Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, even as high as Southampton and Crystal Palace into this scrap with 10 games to go in the season. So, Nick, how do you assess the relegation battle as someone who has a team close to his heart that is getting sucked into this scrap very, very quickly? What do you think is going to happen down there, mate?
Well, first of all, I want to point out that this is without bias. I can do this without bias. I covered a very bad Buffalo Bills team here in Buffalo for many years and was able to do it without bias. I think Newcastle is very bad. And the reason I say that is because they have the talent to be above themselves. They don't have the manager right now. And the situation that they were in to play West Brom, that was the 3 points you were counting on. And what happens in the previous 3 weeks? Callum Wilson gets hurt. Miguel Almiron gets hurt. Alan St. Maximin gets hurt. And they're all out until April. And so, you look at that, and with those guys, you think they've got a win against West Brom, a shot against Villa at home, a shot against Brighton. And instead you're thinking, fortunate maybe to get a point against Brighton, a team that beat them 3-0 earlier this year. So I think the only way the Magpies don't go down is if Fulham implodes or Burnley implodes, because I don't expect it out of Brighton. And as well, just one other point. I know they won last week, but even before we were talking about, Joey, we would needle you a little bit about Saints, but all of the bad teams were left on their schedule. The rough stretch they went through had a lot of good teams on their docket and injuries. So, and the other fortunate team is Palace, because I think they're absolutely very poor, but they're kind of just enough above it to not worry about it.
Andy, Fulham have, really put the cat amongst the pigeons here, haven't they? In terms of their form, I don't think anybody really saw this coming. They did make some good moves in the transfer window. Those guys kind of, Anderson and Tosin, and they've come in and done really well, made a huge difference. It took them a little while to settle down, but how have they done this? How have they changed things? I mean, tactically, we got to give Scott Parker a huge amount of praise and appreciate what he's managed to do there, because they've gone from a team that were leaking goals at the start of the season to now they have a great balance between defense and attack, and they're really hard to beat, but they're also very good to watch as well, aren't
they? They can be at times. I'll say it's been an incredible job from Scott Parker as a first-time manager as well, and a first season in the Premier League. And I think he's shown a lot of growth or maturity, whatever the right word is, to assess what his ideas were coming into the season, coming up to the Premier League. Well, we want to be one of those teams. I look at Sheffield United just last season. They came up, they had an identity. They wanted to play a certain way. They had a lot of success doing so. And then he probably came in with this idea that, okay, we'll be a good possession team and we'll look to really attack and we'll add something to the league. And we'll try to hang with some of the big boys. And they just got beat down again and again and again and again to start the season. And he looked at it about the halfway point of the season and said, okay, this is not working. This is going to end very badly for us. We've got to do something different. And they have, more than anything, they have just prioritized clean sheets. And if you look at their recent results, there's a lot of zeros that they're giving up of late. And even Liverpool over the weekend, it was not a beautiful, pleasing on the eye performance from Fulham, but it was just very functional. They're tough to play against at the moment. I think that's the most important thing. And if you look at those teams down there at the bottom, I don't think you can really say that about about Brighton, about Newcastle. They just have, whether it's a belief or a tactical kind of foundation to rely on, they have something there at the right time of the season that I don't think anybody else does down there. Now, they've also played one more game than the other two. I think that's the one very important thing to remember is they've played 28. Newcastle and Brighton, who are still ahead of them, have played 27. I think ultimately Fulham still go down. I think it will be very, very close. And probably, if you look at the schedule, the final day of the season, at home against Newcastle, but their schedule coming up it's tough for Fulham. They've got City in there. They've got United in there. They've got Arsenal, and like they've got a lot of big teams in there.
You can see me rubbing my hands here, and this is as someone of a fan of a club that is usually over the many, many years I supported and been right in the thick of the relegation scrap. And apart from once have survived, obviously Southampton, but I don't see them getting sucked into this. But let's remind everyone of the picture right now. So Sheffield United are in 20th place. They're bottom of the table on 14 points, 12 points from safety with 10 games to go. So, yeah, see you later. They're gone. West Bromwich Albion, not much better off. They're on 18 points, so they're 8 points from safety with 10 games to go. But their schedule's not bad. I'm looking at some of the games coming up, and it's not horrendous. It's not great either, but you wouldn't put it past Big Sam. They've been unlucky, I think, in recent weeks with some of the draws and some of the games where they just haven't been able, to put away the chances. They've at least got better defensively. I'm trying to stick up for West Brom. I don't quite know why, but. And then Fulham, 18th place, occupy the final relegation spot on 26 points. Played one more game than Brighton, who also have 26 points. And Brighton only sit outside the relegation zone on goal difference. And there's 3 goals in it. And then Newcastle are on 27 points, so 1 point above the drop zone. And then Burnley are on 30 points, so they sit 4 points above the drop zone. And they play 28 games as well. So maybe Burnley could get sucked into it. They aren't playing great, and Nick's brought it up before. They're not a team that really you look at them and say they're going to go out and score 2 or 3 goals every game. So, Nick, what's your thoughts about what 3 teams are going down? I think we all agree that Sheffield United and West Brom are going down, right? So, pick your 3rd team to go down.
Well, look, I'm going to say Newcastle. I look at them and. I was at that 538 site, the projection site, and they run the average simulated season, and they had Fulham and Newcastle finishing on the exact same amount of points, and Newcastle going down on goal difference, and I could just see that happening.
And they play each other, right, on the final day of the season. Fulham post Newcastle.
I was super excited though. They had Brighton on 40 and Burnley on 41. I think Burnley could get dragged in. I really do. It almost feels like they've defied reason for 5 or 6 years. And I don't know. I just think Fulham has right now a key piece in Zambo Anguissa, who might be the best player on a bottom 6 side. It could be one of the backs on Brighton. Mateus Pereira, Sander Berge, if he's not hurt, but or 7 guys on Newcastle underperforming. But I really think he's the difference, and they keep goals down. I don't see their goal difference slipping, and that could be key.
Yeah, Burnley have scored 2 or 3 goals exactly 4 times all season, Joe. 4 times they have scored multiple goals in a game. So it's a fair statement to say you don't expect them to go out and score 2 or 3 goals. They're a gnat, right? Like they have been the Premier League's gnat for the last 5 years, just sticking around the Premier League somehow. Nobody really knows how. They do it in a really annoying way that's not fun to watch without any big names or star players, anything like that. I honestly think they probably finished 17th, just above Fulham, because if you look at what they have done of late, they're picking up points, but they're just stringing it together in a way that doesn't seem like they can continue to replicate this for the rest of the season. And they have a small squad. They've got a toughish schedule coming up. There's just nothing about them that inspires any confidence in me that Burnley are going to keep themselves truly safe from this relegation battle.
Are you saying that Tony Pulis is Sean Dyche's looky-likey?
I think that's what I'm saying. I
don't know where we go from that, but I'm just going to say I'm torn. I agree with both of you that Fulham or Newcastle are the front runners, but something within me tells me that Brighton are going to get relegated because the bad luck or whatever. See these like stats going around that on expected goals they should be 5th in the table, and they're actually obviously way at the bottom. And for whatever reason, missing 2 penalty kicks against West Brom in the same game, VAR decisions going against them. Just
in the same game.
Yeah, and that it adds up, right? It adds up over a season as well. You watch them each week, and Nick, bless him, just waxes lyrical about Graham Potter every single week, and the Seagulls, and loves them, and that is not a good combination. I think over a season, if you keep getting unlucky, time and time again, that's going to build up, and I think there's a negative vibe around Brighton. So I'm going to pick them to go down, and I want to finish by just going back to the start of the season. And here are the three teams that I predicted to go down at the start of the season. We did our pre-season predictions: West Brom, Fulham, and Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace aren't, a million miles away, but that's the outlier there. Nick had Fulham, West Brom, and Burnley. So pretty close there, Nick. Andy Edwards had West Brom, Crystal Palace. We were just hovering above there. And then the outlier is Leeds United. But you had Fulham right down there as well. So I think, we weren't too far off the mark, lads. But it's going to be interesting to see the twists and turns in the relegation battles. Like Nick said, Fulham, Newcastle on the final day, Brighton, Burnley, even Saints and Palace can get dragged back into this. So a lot of more twists and turns to come. And we'll keep you updated on the latest news from the relegation battle and every single game in the Premier League between now and the end of the season up on Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long and join us at the weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern on NBCSN for Premier League mornings, and sign up for Peacock Premium, where you'll have access to 175 exclusive live games all season long.